bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, pleura, spleen, lungs, large intestines, small intestines, feces, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, and that goes on. In fact, this kind of practice is known as observing the disgusting. Now, it has a function within the tradition because it is supposed to allow you to then become detached from your own body. And there are all sorts of interesting stories. We don't have that. But they come to mind as a cheap, but they start to anyway, this kind of observation, you can see how you would be closely linked to what Shantideva does in the Bodhicharya, which is observe these states of mind and judge whether they are good or bad, which essentially in Buddhism, like in Christianity, it means judging whether they are clean or unclean. Buddhism is terminology that has to do with cleanliness, just like we do when we talk about sin. Now, one last passage where you find clearly mindful, pure mindfulness, the idea of our psychotherapists. This is the story of an ascetic, not a Buddhist, not a Buddhist ascetic, whose name was variegated. This is from the Udana, one of my favorite texts. You can see how many favorite texts. That's my problem, because I can never stop. Okay, and he lived in Suparaka, which is in the western part of India. And the Buddha at that time was in Savatthi, or Shravasti, which was in the center of India. And this man was meditating and practicing, doing these ascetic practices, and he concludes that he, in fact, is an arhat. In other words, he has reached the highest stage, and he's ready to enter nirvana. But there is a certain deity who was a relative of his in a previous life, and out of compassion for him, this is wonderful, this kind of compassion, came to him and said, you know, you're not an arhat. Okay, very compassionate act. I think he's compassionate, by the way. Don't be deluded, you're not an arhat. So what? Who is not? He says, the Buddha. And where can I find the Buddha? Shasti. He's so eager to see the Buddha that he gets from Suparaka to Shravasti overnight. Of course, impossible. There's no bullet trains or anything like that in those days. It's quite a distance. So he gets there, he asks the Buddha to please teach him. He says, please Buddha teach him. The Buddha says, no, I'm in my begging rounds. And it's against the monastic rule to teach when you have the begging rounds. I'm in my begging rounds. So he says, Buddha, you never know what might happen tomorrow, which is what is called foreboding in literature, right? When you hear what's going to happen in the end, right? You never know what might happen. Please teach me, no? And he asks 3 times, and you know, 3 is a magical number in the Buddhist text. Asks him so many other things. Like when the mom says, shut up, I'm going to count to 3, you know? And I know parents who say 1, 2, 2.5, 2 and 3/4. But anyway, in the case of the Buddha, he asks 3 times, and then you get the answer. And the Buddha says the following: Yabakote Bahiya Ditte Dittamatam Vamisati. If or when you, Bahiya, only seek when you see. And then it says, Sute Sudamatam, Mute Udamatam, Vinyate Vinyatamatam. So if you see and only see, if you hear and only hear, if you think and only think, if you cognize and only cognize. Very zen, by the way. It's a podcast, this is why I like podcasts. And he says, then at that point, Yatotva Bahiya Natatta Nevidha Nahuram Novayamantare. Okay, there will be no here or there or beyond. Okay, which probably has soteriological significance, but you can still read it the way that these psychotherapists read it, right? You have overcome your attachment to past, future, etc. You simply observe reality as it is. Needless to say, the poor man, not poor, because he becomes an arhat, and the moment he meets the Buddha, a cow thinks that he might harm her calf, so she kills the calf kills him. And at that point, the Buddha says, monks, prepare the pyre because we're going to burn the art. Okay? So that is that story how it goes. Now, to come to some kind of conclusion here. Notice how the Buddhist tradition really had, this is all because of fragment, you have a range of possibilities as to what you can do with mindfulness. But never forget that even when you have a range of possibilities that takes you to mere observation, it is still within the context of a monastic tradition and the context of renunciation that leads to overcoming old age and death. You know, if you go to psychotherapists and say, oh, I'm so glad you came to me because I'm going to free you from disease, old age, and death, imagine, right? Unless you're very naive, you'll say, what? This guy is crazy, right? Well, that's a big difference. It's important. You cannot ignore that, okay? Furthermore, notice that there is, of course, some kind of moral contest, mostly monastic, but not exclusively monastic. And the idea of healing is much broader, as I just said, because it is healing from the totality of suffering, which is not what any physician could possibly pretend to do for you. In fact, I'm sure you go to a physician who tells you, go home and rest, I can't do anything for you, right? And sometimes we say, yeah, this is my physician. Other times we say, what? I came here to be healed, right? Or you have chronic disease and the physician says, there's nothing we can do, right? However, the Buddha is not like that. The Tathagata, the Arhat, perfectly awakened one, is the monarch of great physicians. He has mastered these skills in the art of medicine and will cure all sentient beings from all diseases. And again, in this case, the four principles are these. The Tathagata knows as it really is this noble truth of suffering. He knows as it is really this noble truth of the formation of suffering. He knows as it really is this noble truth of the extinction of suffering. And he knows as it really is this noble truth of the path leading to the extinction of suffering. Monks, in this world, a good physician offers treatment without knowing as it really is the root cause of birth. Not knowing as it really is the root cause of old age, disease, death, suffering, lamentation, pain, tribulation. On the other hand, the Tathagata are perfectly awakened. The monarch of great physicians offers treatment knowing as it really is the root cause of birth, etc., etc. Okay? This is, by the way, preserved only in Chinese. It's in the Samyutta. It's preserved in Chinese, doesn't mean it's not Indian, it's not original, it's original. But it's the only place where they talk about Buddha in so many words as a physician. So, to conclude then how will there be some kind of communication, some kind of dialogue that I think in the end could be helpful? Well, I think to begin with the therapist, it is incumbent on the therapist to use their terminology with greater caution. Right? So when we talk about mindfulness, not pretend that it's the same thing that is found in Buddhist texts, but rather define it the way that they do it, which is, by the way, the scientific way to do it, right? It's not to say mindfulness. Mindfulness is step 1, step 2, step 3, right? And I measure it, step 1, step 2, step 3. That's the scientific way to do it. They seldom do it except in specialized journals, right? But in the books for public consumption, they assume a very different tone. It is also important that they take particular care not to bring the Buddha into the picture when it is not appropriate or relevant. And in most cases, it is not relevant to bring the Buddha into the picture. To understand, it is important that they understand that Buddhism is much more than a therapy and will always be, and that it has its own cultural roots, frames of reference, terminology, and literature about its terminology. which we'll go into that, the commentaries and how they explain these words. And that there is a moral and soteriological tradition in Buddhism that is essential to the Buddhist tradition. And this moral tradition sometimes may border on the ascetic and the moralistic. Let me underline moralistic because I've used sometimes this word, and especially the older people, the younger people say, yes, no morals, yes, goody. But the older people get very nervous. I'm saying moralistic, not moral, okay? And from a contemporary point of view of mental health, moralism is taken to be a kind of rigidity that is not healthy, okay? That's different from having morals, which is healthy. As a psychotherapist, I can tell you, guilt is good for you, okay? Shame is good for you to a certain point. That's a detail, that's important to a certain point. But if you don't have shame, guilt, right, fear of doing what is wrong, you can't be a full human being. Okay, also, therapists should be very careful not to identify proof of their success, for which, by the way, there is proof, scientific proof, with any particular canonical or extra-canonical Eastern or Western description of spiritual experiences. At least not until they can find empirical means of measuring spiritual states. So when people say, oh, when people meditate, you can see those brain scans and the lights up, yeah, meditation works. Okay, those colors, by the way, the colors are not in the brain, they're produced by the machine, okay, to begin with. They're made up reality. But those colors don't say enlightenment. Here's enlightenment. Here's Upaya. No, so as long as you can't do that, let it be. Let it be. You don't have any scientific evidence for anything. To do so, in other words, to talk about spiritual attainments would be to mix carelessly, otherwise robust empirical models with what is valuable, but nonetheless operationally not defined, the sphere of religious experience, which is important, but we still don't have a scientific way of measuring. Okay, as to the meditators, and this I include just anybody who does meditation, so Buddhism, etc., and lumping them together, and just saying it's not fair, but lumping them together, it is incumbent on the meditators to also use their terminology with caution. Not to make their appearing claims without an empirical base, and at least not to do so as long as no one can show a clear connection between whatever the science shows and the spiritual reality. And above all, it is incumbent on Buddhists to make sure that some of the presuppositions, religious, soteriological, etc., are clear so the therapists understand where they're coming from. And it is important, I think, for the meditators to understand that therapists have different presuppositions, and for the therapist to understand that the practitioner has different presuppositions. So, I just want to read you a quotation that I really like. Tells you something about meditation and psychotherapy. This is attributed to Suzuki Roshi, who is often quoted by the psychotherapists. Suzuki Roshi one day, as everybody was meditating, said, each of you is perfect the way you are. That would be close to psychotherapy, right? Each one of you is perfect the way you are. Pause. And you can use a little improvement. And that's Buddhism.